Well, Labor has been missing in action on anti-Semitism since October 7, 2023 and has been flip-flopping ever since, trying to keep the Muslim vote on side, rarely throwing a bone to the Jewish Australian community. And in the rare occasions it does, it's only when it's politically convenient. And now we have another example of Labor's breathtaking incompetency when it comes to our values. Labor's latest bizarre backflip centres around two anti-Israel artists, Khaled Sabsabi and his curator, Michael D'Agostino. Now, in February, Sabsabi was dropped as Australia's pick for the Venice Biennale, and this event is known as the so-called Olympics of the art world in Venice. But the problem was with some of Sabsabi's previous art. The first, depicting slain Hezbollah leader Hassan Nasrallah, in which beams of light shone from his eyes and mouth, suggestive of divine illumination, and was reportedly set to audio of Nasrallah speaking at a 2006 victory rally following Hezbollah's month-long war with Israel. Now, you remember Nasrallah was of course killed by Israeli forces last year. And the second was art appearing to show George W. Bush saying thank you very much for terrorist planes flying into the World Trade Center towers on September 11, 2001. Now, I'll preface by saying I am not an art expert, but that art to me does not at all represent Australian values, let alone from an artist on the world stage whom you and I are funding. And at the same time, the chair and CEO of Creative Australia said that the artwork actually reflected the diversity and plurality of Australia's rich culture. Well, gee, who would have thought that a terror leader was so important and rich to our culture? Now, the agency reports to the Arts Minister Tony Burke, who established it and appointed the board. At the time, in February, he supported the decision. In fact, he said he was shocked to see the works online. This was before the election. And now that that's done and dusted, suddenly, would you believe, the art is acceptable. The artist was yesterday reinstated to represent us, to represent Australia in Venice, following an independent review. The backflip by Creative Australia received the full backing, in fact, of Tony Burke.
I don't put myself out there as an art critic. But when the criticism that was done at the time said these were not pro-terrorist works, and the artist himself says there is nothing in this that's meant to in any way endorse terrorism, then I don't think politicians can say, well, you're all wrong. Yeah. And it is.
Creative Australia went as far as to apologise to the artists.
This work is not about terrorism. It is not about glorification of terrorism in that way. And that those who choose to mischaracterise the work aren't being honest to the intention of the work or the practice that this artist has, who is an incredibly peace-loving artist in the way that they construct their images.
Now, look, as I said, I don't pretend to be an art expert, and I do strongly support freedom of speech. But this, to me, is appalling. Artwork of a terror leader painted in a heavenly light. And art is obviously open to interpretation, but I don't think terror is that difficult to interpret. And the bigger problem is not with the art itself. The problem is that our money, our hard-earned taxpayer dollars, is going towards an artist who's had these art done, and we're promoting it on the world stage. And no one is stopping the artist Khaled Sabsabi from doing art. Of course, he's not been cancelled previously. He can paint till the cows come home. But a taxpayer-funded junket to Venice is a problem when he's there to represent Australia through artwork that does not represent our values. Most hard-working, law-abiding Aussies do not support the former leader of a terror group and do not think that he should be painted in a heavenly light, nor do they support the work of terrorists on September 11. We know that Hezbollah is a highly anti-Semitic group. It's hostile towards Jews. And any sort of endorsement, even just artwork, that contains senior figures is offensive, but it's also insensitive to Jewish Australians. Now, artists, I believe, have the right to express themselves, but not at our expense. And this was an artist who was apparently unfit to represent Australia in February, but has now been deemed a suitable choice 5 months later. And Labor is once again showing how out of touch they are with most Aussies. It comes at a time when anti-Semitism is at a crisis point, Our social fibres are being ripped apart because of ideologies that are incompatible with our democracy. And once again, it sends another message to Jewish Australians that they don't matter under this government. The coalition is rightly asking questions.
I think Mr Burke, who previously had said that this was an arm's length decision and now has come out and defended Mr Sabsabi's previous artworks, also needs to explain himself. We believe in the rule of law and we list organisations as terrorist organisations. I think particularly at this time, this is the wrong person to be representing our country, particularly given the tensions in Australia and the declining level of social cohesion and the anti-Semitism crisis that we've faced in this country.
And clearly preempting the backlash to this decision, Tony Burke has decided to cancel the visa of rapper Kanye West over a song called Hail Hitler.
He's been coming to Australia for a long time. He's been making, he's got family here, and he's made a lot of offensive comments. But my officials looked at it again once he released the Hail Hitler song, and he no longer has a valid visa in Australia.
That's it.
I just think the timing of this is all so bizarre. Kanye West, call him what you like, the guy's got no tour planned in Australia. He's got no immediate plans to come to this country. And it's clear that Burke has backflipped on an anti-Israel artist, but has said, well, look, don't worry. I've banned Kanye West. I mean, give me a break. Labor doesn't know whether it's coming or going.